Hey guys, wait for some people to come in. Yo, what's up, Tata? Yo, hey, BJJ Barbie, how you guys doing? Lenny,
Hello from
yo,
Sao Paulo, Brazil.
yo, hello from Thailand.
Thailand. What city?
Bangkok right now because I'm still going through this quarantine, but I'll be free on Wednesday. So we're
Oh,
almost there. Almost there. But yo, guys, yep, yeah, I hear you now. Yeah, we want to talk about the rules in MMA and not just MMA, jiu-jitsu and all sports and why they actually matter. Because as we all saw from the major fight this weekend, is one of the worst things, the worst way a fight could possibly end. And we need to understand why we need to know the rules because every fight and organization has different rules. So, yeah, it's important that we talk about this. But, yeah.
well, I mean,
But
here's
one
the
of the
thing.
things,
I actually want to do something before that. Watch
yeah,
this. Let's talk about rules. I don't know much about basketball, right? But I do know about a guy named Patrick Ewing. I've heard his name many, many times. I don't know, a lot about basketball, but I know he was important. You with me? Did you hear what happened?
yep,
Well, apparently he was in the
Patrick
stadium,
Ewing.
not stadium. What's it called? The basketball. What's it called? Not stadium, arena. He was in the arena that he made famous.
Yeah,
Apparently, he had done some amazing, basketball there. And he was walking around without his tag on, his identification tag, and security stopped him. And they said, "Hey, who are you?" And he was really angry because he's someone that he felt like everyone should already know. He's one of the people that put that place on the map. And the problem is,
yeah.
I'm looking at that behavior and I'm thinking, who the fuck are you? Rules are there for a reason, especially in this world of heightened security. I would go so far as to say, even if they knew exactly who he was, why should he not have to wear the same name tag
They
everybody
still
else
have to
does?
check.
At what point did he get to a
Yeah.
situation in his life where he
I
felt like,
fought.
what, the rules don't apply to me?
Yeah, I fought Clark Gracie at Pan Am's in 2013, and everyone knows at the jiu-jitsu tournaments we all need our ID when we compete. Everyone needs the ID. But that particular year, Clark Gracie was actually on the like the cover of Gracie Mag. He's on the cover, so he doesn't have his ID. He was running to the mat, and he's like, we're supposed to fight, and they're telling him to go get his ID, and so he grabs a Gracie magazine, and he's like, look, he slaps on the table. This is me. He's on the front of Gracie Mag, his face, Clark Gracie, and the lady's looking at him like, and where's your ID? And so he has to run
Where's your
back.
name tag, sir?
He has to run back and get his freaking ID, and man, it was quite funny. But again, rules are there for a reason, and I had my ID. All the other black belts had their ID. Nobody's above any of those. We're not above those rules. The rules are there for a reason.
And they're there for security. They're mainly there to keep you safe. They're mainly there to keep somebody who has no business being in there or impersonating somebody else from being there and doing something.
Yeah,
And it's just awkward because people get so entitled and they're angry when they realize you're only famous to a specific set of people. There are very few people that can transcend their own world of fame. And even if people, hey, my buddy said he wants to take up BJJ. Howard Cooper Fitness
oh
just joined. I invited him.
yeah,
Come get
definitely get
strangled.
on it.
Come get strangled. But that's the other thing. It's like, at what point do people get to the situation where they feel like the rules don't apply to me? I can ignore the rules. I should be forgiven for breaking the rules because what do we say about this weekend? Like, describe the situation for the people who don't know what happened this weekend.
Okay, so Aljamain Sterling is fighting Peter Yan in the championship fight. He's on both knees. His hands are also on the mat because Peter Yan's pushing his head down. And when his hands come up, Peter Yan throws a knee and he rocks him with the knee to the face. Aljamain drops and is rolling around, and he's in visible pain, and he ends up becoming a champion of the world because of this mistake that Peter Yan made. And when you hear Peter Yan talk about it, like what he says are completely different than what it is, but he's like, the rules are still the rules, and it's there for a reason. You can't knee someone on the ground when they're on a knee in the UFC. But in his mind, he was focusing on his hands. And so when his hands came up, he thought that Aljamain Sterling would also end up coming up, but he didn't come up. So he ends up hitting him with the knee, fight's over.
And apparently there was a miscommunication, and what he thought he heard isn't what he heard. But the reality is, you're a champion. You're a belt-holding champion. Why are you claiming you didn't know what was happening? I didn't know the rules. And even if he didn't, that's still no excuse. The world has rules, and I know it's fashionable right now for people to all talk about, I break the rules, and I'm this and I'm that. Listen, generally speaking, rules are there to keep us safe.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he lost his belt. He lost his belt. He's going to lose money. He's going to lose. I don't think he'll lose too much. He'll be fine at the end of the day because they're going to have to run the fight back. But now he comes into the fight as a challenger. And now he's challenging to get his belt back that he should have never lost.
And he's getting less pay. Let's not forget about that. The belt comes with money.
Yeah. And
you know, the belt comes with money.
Yeah. And that's the one really good thing on Aljamain's side. Aljamain's gonna make a ton more money now, like a lot. Like, people don't understand how much money that guy's gonna make because now he has the title. Because now he gets a huge bump in pay and also pay-per-view points. And that's pay-per-view points for the UFC is absolutely huge. It's like hundreds, like millions of dollars, not hundreds of anything.
And, you know, it seems like a lot of money. I want to be clear. You know, we talk about fighters' salaries. We got to also remember, it takes years of making absolutely nothing to make that kind of money.
Yeah.
And once they do, to lose the bag like that, to drop the bag like that,
yeah, that's
brutal.
That's brutal. So silly. And yeah, there was a funny thing, like a funny back and forth between John Jones and Peter Yan. Peter Yan had John Jones was talking about Aljamain Sterling, about how he's the champion and how Peter Yan did something illegal and deserved to lose his belt. And then Peter Yan just replied, like, Anthony Smith should have took your title, because John Jones is in the exact same situation, but Anthony Smith didn't get up. He did get up. He got up, continued to fight, ended up losing. And so,
but watch this. What is his nickname? What is Smith's nickname?
I don't know off the top of my head. What is it?
Lionheart.
Yeah.
And that got him in trouble because there's winning the game and then there's winning the fight.
Yeah. And now,
you know, he could have won the game.
Yeah. And Anthony Smith is so far away from title contention in that weight class now. Like, it's like he could have changed his life, his family's life, and now he's right back in probably, I think he's ranked 6 or 7 on the way to a title.
A long way from one. We'll put it like that. It's a long way from one.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, how do you put yourself in that situation where you feel like, because people have said, oh, I think Aljamain Sterling was faking. Who cares? I don't think he was faking at all. First of all, I've been kneed in the face before. When I lived in Thailand, I lived in Bangkok, Thailand, and believe it or not, I was doing some very sloppy defending a guard pass, and I got kneed in the nose. It happens, right?
Yeah.
Interesting, funny side story is when I went to the emergency room, it wasn't because it hurt. It's because I sneezed and my eye blew up because I cracked a bone right here. And the air didn't go out of my nose when I sneezed. It went up and surrounded my eye, so it looked like I had this giant eye jam. At the time, I was dating this woman, and when we went to the emergency room, I noticed the doctors were acting kind of weird, and they were inspecting me And then one doctor said, come here, I got to take an x-ray in this room, and you got to come alone. And when I got in there, they had a counselor in there. And they said, listen, has she been hitting you? I'm dead serious. You know what? I have so much respect for that, because they said, listen, we want to be clear that this accident was an accident, and if you don't feel safe being with her, you can tell us. And keep in mind, at the time, I'm a 240-pound weightlifting jiu-jitsu player, humble blue belt, but still, and I'm just glad that they actually acknowledge, men take abuse too. Because one of the most abusive situations I've ever seen was with a judo black belt who had a wife who was a lunatic, and they had 2 children. And she used to abuse him so badly, and he was terrified to tell anyone because he was scared he would lose his children.
Yeah. And because it's different, I mean, let's not go too far, but it's different. Like, anytime a guy gets hit by a girl, the first question from all their guy friends, from everyone, is, what'd you do? Like, it's not the same for us. But yeah, that is good that they took you into that back room.
Yeah. But that's the thing, if even if Aljamain Sterling wasn't hurt, which he was, it shouldn't matter. That's like saying you should only get a ticket for speeding if you blow a red light and hit somebody. But if you don't hit anybody, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
What happens in that world? And go ahead.
There's another fight that happened yesterday on Brave FC, which is the fight organization that the Sheiks put on. The production value is really big. A lot of people may not have seen that fight, but the exact same thing happened, like almost to a T. Guy was down. He was shooting in for a takedown. He's on his knees. The guy hits him with the knee, and the guy is clearly hurt. Like, the fight should have been called, but it was in the first round of the fight. So they took 2 points away from the guy who needed him. They let the fight continue, and then within 30 seconds, they called the fight off because the guy just kept getting battered. Like, he was so hurt.
Well, wait a minute. So the guy was on one knee going for the takedown. He wasn't like in the process of shooting.
No, he had already shot. The shot got stopped, and then he got kneed in the face. The ref stepped in right away. The guy was running around like he won the fight. He thought he won. The ref sent him to his corner, or the neutral corner, checked the guy out, had a doctor come in, check the guy out. The doctor said the guy could continue the fight. He continues the fight. Not even 30 seconds after the knee, fight's over because the guy's on top and the guy's like, he's on his back trying to get the guy to come into his guard, and the other guy like backs off, like telling the guy to stand up. And then the guy doesn't stand up fast, and like you can see in his eyes that he's not all there. Then the ref calls off the fight. But because of the timing of when he calls off the fight, it's no longer a DQ. It's no longer, and it wouldn't have been a DQ at that point. In the first round, it's only a no contest. They end up, they'll just have to fight again later. But now this guy gets a win. This guy gets his first loss. He was 10-0. Now he gets his first loss. And then the thing that I hated the most of it was the commentators kept praising the referee for protecting the fighters. I was like, the referee should have called the fight. Like, when he saw the guy wasn't there, you called a fight. I didn't like in the Peter Yan fight, the refs kept asking Aljamain Sterling if he's okay. You know he's not okay. You see him.
Why would you ask a man that's just been battered in the head? Like, you can't ask somebody that just took a knee to the skull, are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, what if he says he is okay? Are you going to let this man continue to fight and continue to get battered? Because, like, he's already, like, and he was winning the fight on one judge's scorecard. Another judge had it on the other scorecard. So if they take 2 points away from Peter Yan for the foul, Aljamain Sterling's in a very good position to actually win this fight. So if they allow this fight to continue to go and he ends up getting finished right after that because of the knee, it's like it's almost a crime that they did that to that man. Like, just call the fight, just call it off. You know he's not fine. Don't put that in the fighters. Like, even it'd be better for them to ask the coach, because if you're not going to interview somebody because they have a concussion, why are you going to give him the option to continue fighting?
Well, you know what? Let's back up for a second. A lot of people don't know this, but for a very long time, the UFC would interview both fighters after the fight. But then at some point, some of the commentators were saying, listen, if you have a fighter that just got blasted in the skull and was unconscious for 4 seconds, you can't put him in front of a microphone and ask him to be coherent.
It was Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier. When Daniel Cormier got caught crying after the John Jones fight when he got kicked in the head, and all those memes and interviews came out, and all that was flooded out. That's when that rule finally changed. But until then, they would interview both fighters, no matter what, and the fighters would cry. They'd say crazy things, but of course you're gonna say something crazy if you've just been concussed, and you have no idea.
Djuan underscore in the comments. Yep, judges should not put fighters in that damn position.
Yeah, 100%. And what's up, Djuan? But 100%,
that's cruelty.
Yeah, and it's something that they, like, as a fighter, like, we're warriors at heart. We're going to always try to fight. We need to be protected in certain situations, because in other situations we're willing to go out on our shields. No one wants to fight. You can see Aljamain Sterling grabbed that belt and threw it on the ground. He wanted nothing to do with that thing.
This man is emotionally a wreck, because nobody wants to win like that. Every fighter wants to win by fighting, not by some kind of technicality. And that's, I respect the heart, but, you know, his coaches got to sit down with him. And like they said in the interviews afterwards, you didn't do anything wrong. You were playing by the rules. You know, and I think that there are a lot of situations where rules can be bent. But if we can have civilized rules among uncivilized men as violent as we are, I mean, what chance does the world have? There's a reason why it's such big news whenever a professional fighter gets into an actual fight, because it's so rare. Because what we do, look at David Pitt said, I want to see DJ versus, he says, no, gi sub only. That'd be a very short match. I would spend 5 minutes protecting my arm from a Kimura, and that's just run. I would just be straight running. But this is the thing. It's like, you know, you can't be in a situation where we already get to lead the most violent life possible. We strangle each other unconscious for fun. You know, we damn near break each other's arms, but out of respect for the rules, we don't. So whenever you have a fighter who can't even follow, I mean, there's very few rules on fighting.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the very few semi-honorable things left. When we have a situation where we can't even have that, it's over.
Yeah. And so, like, it's just one of those things where the fighters understand. Peter Yan understands. Like, he understands why he lost his belt. You don't see him complaining. He's upset at the situation.
No, he took it like a man.
Yeah, he went up. He took it on the chin. He knows what happened. He knows he messed up. He explained why he messed up, but because he was paying attention to the wrong thing. He was looking at the hands. And then when the hands came up, the one knee was up, the other knee was down. He wasn't paying attention to everything as a whole, so he broke the rules. He took it on the chin. Now he just wants to fight again as soon as they can.
So now my question is, does Peter Yan get mad at his corner because they isolated the audio? One coach said, hit him, and the other coach said, punch him. And there was a situation where he may have misunderstood, you know, exactly what the differences were. I'm not making excuses. But do you have a sit down with your team? Because I forgot who it is. It might be Jackson Winklejohn, but I know there's one team specifically where only one person is allowed to talk to the fighter. All the other coaches have to run everything through the head coach, and he yells into the ring, no matter what, so that there's only one voice he's listening to.
Yeah. So that's kind of the same way we operate on Team Lloyd Irvin as well. Everything goes through Master Lloyd. His voice is the only voice that the fighters hear. And when I'm cornering, it's different when I'm cornering the guys, because some fighters speak English, some fighters, English isn't their first language. But I don't think in that particular situation it's a sit down that you need to have with your coaches, because, again, one coach said hit him, the other coach said punch him. But even if both of those mean the same thing, that's just something that I mean, obviously it's something that they need to sit down and talk about, because that thing can never happen again. Like, he lost too much money from that mistake. So yeah, they 100% they have to have a talk. They have to have a sit down and talk about that. But from the interview that I saw with Peter Yan, he was talking about how he was focused on the person's hands, and that's why he threw the knee. He didn't blame his coaches at all. But again, it's something that they're probably already talked about, because that mistake can never, ever happen again.
I feel like we know we don't live in the world that we had 6 months ago or a year ago. I feel like everyone's mental capacity has gone down. I feel myself getting dumber because I understand I'm not using my brain the way I was before. Even in business, I'm used to waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, banging out clients, going out for another client lunch, doing this, doing that, going to some place to negotiate a rate for my clients in a business that they're doing. And now YouTube has kept me sane, my YouTube channel. Shout out for everybody who's on YouTube. You can catch me at Yusef Latif on YouTube, and you can also find me here on Instagram. But I find that if I didn't have that outlet at minimum to have conversations that require high-level thinking, I would have lost my mind. Could you imagine being a fighter? Because we understand from the fighting world, and in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, it doesn't matter. There is this thing that happens when you all meet up every day for the same goal. And we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And that's just something that during this Corona thing, like, you guys are back on lockdown, right? In Brazil. So again,
yep. In Brazil, they just
yeah,
we're on lockdown again until the end of the month because, well, first of all, nobody wants to be like America. Brazil is not trying to be the next United States. And what they do is, in Brazil, we don't have any kind of lockdown or where you can't go, but the Brazilian government is slick. Here's what they do. All businesses are closed unless it's a hospital, pharmacy, or a restaurant, and the restaurants can only do delivery or pickup. So there's literally no place, like, if you were in town, I couldn't take you downtown to my favorite fresh fruit juice bar and say, let's go get some pineapple juice. Totally closed. And I used to, okay, I'm going to tell on myself now because I already got caught. Near where I live, there's a small children's park. So what me and the team used to do, me and some of my buddies, we would take, I don't know, do you use a kettlebell? You ever use kettlebells? Check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a 40-pound kettlebell. And since the gyms were closed, I would take my kettlebell out to the park. And since there were no children there, you know, what I would do is make my warm-up a farmer's walk. I'd walk with it 4 blocks, and I'd have 2 in one hand, 2 in the, I mean, 1 in one hand, 1 in the other, switch off, get there and do my kettlebell workout, walk up and down the stairs. And then one day, me and this other dude would walk in there, and we had our kettlebells in our backpacks. And it was yellow taped off, and it was 2 cops, a man and a woman. And they just had their arms crossed, and they just looked at us, and we looked at them. And we pretended like we weren't going to go to the park, and they pretended like they didn't know that's what we were going to do. And they were like, when we say everything is closed, we mean everything is closed. So you can't even go to the outdoor park. They are not messing around.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody thinks, I mean, it looks like the world's going back to normal soon, but we got to do what we got to do to stay sane. And I've been on YouTube as well using that outlet. So follow me, DJ Jackson. The link is in my bio as well. But it's just something that we're going to have to keep doing to try to make sure we're not dumbing ourselves down, because this is an interesting time for everybody.
I don't know what normal will be. You know, here in Brazil, one of the things that happens every year that's like a release valve for all the stress is there's carnival. Even people who don't like to go to carnival, like for me, carnival day, I stay in my house. But leading up to carnival, they have these things called ensayo quadrenas and ensayo de, I mean, just they're not just block parties. The samba schools have practice sessions. For 2 or 3 months before carnival, you can go to one of these samba academies, and they have dozens of them. My friends in Brazil know I will drag them. Every weekend, I will go to one on Friday night, one on Saturday morning, one on Saturday night, one on Sunday morning, and one on Sunday night, and go to all of them. Because you can go there. Most of them are free. Or let's say they take a $10 donation because they got to pay for their own uniforms and drums. Get a plate of food, beans, rice, some chicken, and they have some of the best music and the best dancing. And because it's not carnival in the street, the atmosphere is totally different. You know, you see people coming in with their kids, you know, and you realize there are people who have been in these groups for generations. Like, I have seen 2-year-old babies asleep on their mother's breast. The drums are just banging loud. And my friend explained to me, while those babies were listening to these drums while they were still in their mother's womb. So to them, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I tell people to come to Brazil for. Because when carnival comes, you get all the people, and I'm saying this like I'm a native Brazilian. You get all these foreigners coming, You know, and I'm not saying everybody in Brazil know how to act right, but you get people from the United States, because I'm an American too, they want to go to another country to act stupid. You know, so they come in, get drunk, and acting ignorant on the street. And I always feel like you can do that in your own country, but don't go to someplace else, somebody else's country. So you can go to Carnival when it's outside, and it's just a madhouse. I think everybody should do it once. Like, you should do Carnival in Rio de Janeiro once, São Paulo, Brazil once, and Salvador de Bahia once. And I've done each one of them once, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, and so I've done one. I did Carnival in Sao Paulo 2 years ago. The most amazing experience that I've had in my life thus far. I'm a little sad because Thailand has that same thing. They have Songkran, the water festival. And now, because as soon as I got here, coronavirus happened, I've never been able to experience it. But I actually didn't go to Carnival in Rio because I was afraid of me being overwhelmed by that experience. It's a little, I know it's maybe a little too much, Carnival in Rio. So I did Carnival in Sao Paulo because that one's supposed to be more chill. I have a lot of friends in Sao Paulo to keep me safe, but I avoided Carnival in Rio because I know that one gets a little intense. So I did Sao Paulo first, but after doing Sao Paulo, I do want to go back and go to Rio.
You know, this is what my friends would do when they went to Rio. They would literally go out with nothing but the money in cash, stuck in a pouch in their underwear. No phone to get dropped or stolen, no ID to lose, just a jumble of cash, because there are so many people packed in so tight that it doesn't take a good thief to reach in somebody's purse. Like the women, I know that when they go out, they don't carry any purses. They stuff everything in the bra, all of it.
Yeah.
Money, lipstick, everything else has to stay right here, because you can walk down the street and feel somebody's arm brush against you, and it could be somebody just brushed against you, or it could be somebody, you know, kind of fingering around there.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that, like, for the first time in my life, I just wore a fanny pack, like, because the way that they made me dress up in Carnival, I didn't have any pockets on me, and so I wore a fanny pack and was completely fine. Put everything in a fanny pack and was fine.
Well, here's the other thing: you can do get those tiny fanny packs that go on the inside of your shorts. You put it around your waist. After you put on your underwear, you put that on, and it's only about as big as your cell phone with a string you tie on. So now you keep that right here. It's impossible for anybody to even know it's there.
Yeah.
But we'll have to have another conversation about Carnival, because. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, definitely. Carnival is yeah, that's a completely another conversation that I could talk about. I had a great time in Sao Paulo for that. But yeah, that's not the point of this. The point of this is about why we need to follow the rules. And maybe a little bit there are rules, like that is some of the rules when you're in another place, is not acting like a fool. Because if you do that crap in Rio, if you act crazy in Rio, they'll take you up in the favela and you'll never get seen again.
I wouldn't know, because I don't go to places like that. I wasn't born in poverty in America. I don't hang out in poverty in other countries. So you and your friends can go hang out in those places with people who we shall not name. We shall not name on the internet, but you hang around some lunatics. You know, the sacrifices you've made for your jiu-jitsu. Huh?
I love everyone. And yes, there is no replacement for good jiu-jitsu. So if you get a chance to train with someone who is really good at jiu-jitsu, you take it. When you take that chance. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter where you are, you take that chance.
Or you could come down to São Paulo, where we don't have nearly as much of that. You know, I'm going to tell on myself here because I'm speaking in English, and I'm hoping none of my Brazilian friends hear this, because I might get my ass kicked, because I do something here. One of the unwritten rules of Brazil and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is you find a school that you like, and you join. You don't go to another school for their Saturday open mat. You don't go to another school, you know, to blah, 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 blah. So one of the reasons, if you notice, I don't put any pictures at all from any jiu-jitsu academies. That's probably one of the reasons why I've never actually been promoted again, is because I haven't really solidified, because they have so many schools with so many different ways of being. Like Guigo Academy in Guigo Academy, I'm not one of the biggest men. I'm actually one of the smallest. It's the only place I can go, and I can roll with guys that are 250, 260, 270 pounds. So I get to be the small guy. Normally in jiu-jitsu, you know, I'm a big dude, but there, I get to wrestle with some just monsters.
Man, Gigo himself is a huge dude. Herbert Santos trains out of there. He's 230, 240, but super athletic, super fast. Ottavio Natali is massive, 360 pounds.
Can I tell you? Can I ask you a question about Herbert Santos? Because I've never rolled with him. I've never met him. He was never there the times that I dropped in. I'm kind of scared of him. There's something just looking at him on television. You know, as a grown man, I'm not ashamed to say there are some people, my little spidey sense says, you know what? Maybe I should take this round off.
Man, that's not. I love Herbert. You know, every time we're around each other, he's a real great guy. But I've been hurt. Like, one of the good things about me, like, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest, but I'm disciplined, and I don't get hurt. I'm very sturdy. I've been hurt a handful of times, and Herbert Santos is responsible for 2 of them. So you can take from that what you want. Like, he's not a fun guy to roll with. I've seen him not in fights because, again, his physical stature, you're not going to fight that guy. But I've seen people want to fight him because of, like, him just kicking your leg in training. He'll foot sweep you, and it won't feel like a foot sweep. It'll feel like he just straight up tie kicked you in the shin. And you'll be like, what the heck? And literally, when I spar him, I check his foot sweeps. I pick my leg up, turn my shin out, and I check that crap. Because if I don't, I will have a welt the size of my head on my leg. And I can't deal with that. I got stuff to do today. So I need to defend myself. Again, if you're going to sit there and let him kick your leg, you either pull guard or you check that thing, or you do what you have to do to not deal with that. But yeah,
and see, going back to rules, he stands out because there are so many unwritten rules of our discipline that it feels weird when somebody isn't necessarily following. You know, and I understand that when you're in a competition class, that's different from a square like me who has an office job during the day and I'm rolling for an hour and a half at night. That's a different situation.
Again, and yet we have a lot of unwritten rules, but people like Herbert Santos, they are part of the unwritten rules where if you are going to train with him, you need to know that he's different. He's not going to train with you the way Muhammad Ali would train with you. He's not going to train with you the way I would train with you. He has one speed. And honestly, I have to take that back because that was when he was maybe 22 coming up when he was at Team 11. Now he is significantly better. Like I was at Gigo's Academy. I saw him rolling with some older guys. He was significantly better than he was when he was a brown belt, a fresh black belt, and coming up trying to win his world championships. Once he won his world championships and he was training at Gigo's, he was significantly better. Like, I never thought I'd see that with my own eyes, see Herbert Santos just flowing with someone else, because at our gym, he always had one speed. But he was...
And that was depth.
Yeah, he was working for a particular set of goals, and all of our classes were kind of at that speed. So everyone was on the same page. But when I saw him training at Gigo's Academy in the normal classes, it was like, oh man, he knows how to handle himself. But again, that I've also seen him not run at that speed, but now at his older age, he was much better. So I don't want to say it like he was.
Well, at 22, man, you know, at 22, we're not, you know, I firmly believe men don't really get that peak maturity until we're at least 30. And I say that as a man, I'll be 44 this year, and I've been around the world and back many times. I've lived in many countries. We're not completely done cooking until we're about 30.
100%.
You know? Well, listen, we kind of went down this rabbit hole. We got some other things to talk about, but let's do this regularly. And I hope I get to see some of your other friends that popped into the chat.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll talk. We'll get this set up quite often, man. This was fun. I appreciate you coming.
And so, like I said, everybody make sure make sure you check out his YouTube. The link is in his bio. Make sure you subscribe to my Instagram and I have a YouTube as well. The link in my bio. I run a group called Black Expats in Brazil, and that's literally what it is. Black people from around the world who are coming to Brazil to live or live here because I have an expat relocation services company, and one of the things that I do is facilitate the paperwork for people to live in Brazil. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in my bio as well. I appreciate this conversation. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yep, I'll talk to you later, Yusuf. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Talk to everybody later.
Bye.
Later.